The No Nonsense Roundtable, a weekly radio show and podcast where host Dom Genova interviews guests from all walks of life, all with amazing stories to tell. And now, here's your host, Dom Genova.
Well, welcome everybody to the first edition of the Voice of Liberty No Nonsense Roundtable. My name's Dom Genova. I've had this show for quite a while, but not on this station. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. Some people might remember me from my days of being a car dealer, the no-nonsense car dealer. And my wife and I moved here in 1994. I was an employee for Chrysler. Didn't want to really be involved in that corporate life for the rest of my life where somebody else is running a personnel review. And like they say, if you're not the lead dog, the scenery never changes. And so I worked for Chrysler for 17 years. I'm originally from downstate New York, Glen Cove, which is about 35 miles east of the city. And I started with Chrysler in 1977. That's how old I am. And you move up the ladder, so far, when you're young, they tell you that you're going to be president of the company. You're 23 years old and the future is going to be bright and whatever. And by the time you get to be, like in your late 30s, you know where you're really going. And I wasn't really going where I wanted to go, but I'm making good money. Nita's from, my wife is from New York. She's from Morristown. We met downtown. We met downstate. Morrisville, she's from, not Morristown. Why say Morristown? That's New Jersey. Morrisville, she's from. And we met when I was living down in the New York City area, and we got transferred to Charlotte, North Carolina. And I'm making pretty good money, but my career's not going to go where I want my career to go. So we decided to start a small dealership in upstate New York because that's more like our lifestyle. So we started a dealership in Avon, New York in 1994 in a building that had no water, no power. We were going across the street to the Ford dealership. Thankfully, they let us use the bathroom because we didn't have a bathroom. And we went from having like 8 people to buying another dealership in Avon, the Ford dealership in 2016 and whatever. And by the time we sold the dealerships in 2020, we closed on them the week before the COVID shutdown. That's pretty lucky. But we had 85 employees working for us, and it worked really well. We worked really well because we were your no-nonsense car dealer. Knowing that people didn't like the car buying process, we did things differently. Actually, we have a federal trademark on your no-nonsense car dealer, and we won an ethics award from the Rochester Area Business Ethics Foundation in 2014, an ethics award for a car dealer, which is pretty good. So it's been a great ride, and being your no nonsense car dealer, I would do some ads on the radio, kind of poking fun at the business. It's so absurd. My favorite is repo sale. You want a repo car? Do you think they actually changed the oil? I mean, if somebody didn't pay the payment on the car, I don't think they kept up with the maintenance schedule. And analogous to that is isn't that like going to Match.com and actually trying to seek out somebody who's been in state prison? It makes no sense at all. So I started doing these advertisements on a very fine show on another station, talk radio station in Rochester, and I was a guest there for a while, and the show had to do with your home repair. And God bless you. It's great. You need advice about your home and your electrical system and how to deal with the contractor and all that other stuff. And it's a great show. I got to tell you, it really is a great show. But my thought was, if people will tune into a show to listen to people talk about their home and hardware and how to maintain it. How about a show where we talk about people? And it just came to my thought that, well, there's a lot of fascinating stories out there. There's a lot of fascinating stories out there. And beyond being a show where we're yapping about this or yapping about that, let's get to know some people, because some people are very, very interesting. And some people you have a story of, and some people you have no story of. You don't know. There are people that you want to know more about, like Don Alhart, who's been on my show quite a few times. And there's people that you don't know that you should know. And one of my favorite stories is a fellow by the name of Carl Laporta. Carl Laporta, a musician, a piano tuner, and one day he says that, well, we should have a Music Hall of Fame. Okay, and he goes and he helps start the Music Hall of Fame. Well, not too many people know about Carl, but that's a pretty good accomplishment, really. But there's a lot of people like that. And I've had the privilege of being able to, through the show, meet a lot of people that I wouldn't have met otherwise. I mean, my father, I said this at my dad's funeral. He always said to me, I should play more golf, more golf, more golf. Well, frankly, I found cheaper ways of humiliating myself than playing golf. But I think what he was really saying to me is that you should have more friends. And this is sort of what this show is like. Listen to the show. You find people that have opinions that are with you. You might have listen to people have opinions opposite of what your opinions are, and that's fine. It's not my job to convince you of this or convince you of that. One of my favorite questions I ask people is, what did you want to do when you were 10 years old? And you get these really crazy answers. I mean, some of them are predictable. Don Alhart had a mock radio station in his home when he was a kid. And they would have this reel-to-reel, and Fluffy the cat was missing, or it'd be a bulletin, and okay, I got that. I've had two different women say that they wanted to be cowgirls. They never met each other. It's just cowgirls. I mean, that's pretty incredible. And then you get somebody like Jack Palvino, the great Jack Palvino, who used to own Wham, and he had 6 radio stations. He was a lawyer for a while, and then he was this famous disc jockey and station owner. So some people have crooked paths in life, and some people have straight paths in life. And that is what the show is all about. We have, so far, over 300 shows in the book. And having been on a different radio station, you can get them all as YouTubes or iHeart podcasts by going to no-nonsense-roundtable.com and see some of this stuff. I'm going to take a little bit of time explaining to you a little bit about this show too, as far as the construction goes. I have so much freedom with this show, thanks to Bob Savage and the Voice of Liberty. It is going to be very refreshing for me, and I think it's going to be good for you. Because I have the ability with this show of having 55 minutes to talk about whatever we want to talk about. Now, that's very different from the other station I had. Well, I got to be honest with you. I mean, they're running their own ads. I get 36 minutes, and all the people that ever said, I'd listen to that radio show, but it needs more commercials, never existed. Nobody wants more ads. So I'm doing this. I'm doing this show. I got to pay a little bit of money to do the show, but that's fine by me, because we're going to do two things here. One, we're going to give you really great content that is going to help you and interest you, and there's going to be 2 segments of the show all the time. And one of the segments is going to be let's honor a veteran. Okay, so you'll hear a little bit more about that in the show as we go. This show right now, we'll spend a few minutes highlighting somebody who has served this country well, and maybe you don't know about them. And these stories of the people in the service are just fantastic. Let's do something to honor them. Let's honor them by making something that lasts like a short interview of them. Okay, and so the other thing I'm going to do is I wrote after selling the dealership, I wrote a book, and it's basically how to buy a car and not get, okay, I'll use a nice word, taken, okay? And actually it's called that. It says, don't be taken for a ride, know what your dealer knows, and drive home happy. So we're going to have a section of the show that is it's a no nonsense. It doesn't always have to be cars, but it's going to be a consumer protection piece of advice, whether it's 4 or 5 minutes or whatever it is. I have a good friend of mine who became a very good friend of mine who wrote a book. His name is Mark Anthony Arena, and he wrote a book about your computer and how your computer is taking advantage of you and you don't even know, and how these companies are taking advantage of you and you don't even know. That's going to be another great segment. So you'll find 2 of those. And then the other thing, in a very comical way, I invented a town, and it was kind of modeled after Garrison Keillor. And if you know Garrison Keillor, that was Lake Wobegon years ago. He used to have this show on National Public Radio. It was very interesting. It was, I think it was on Saturday night, and you'd be cooking dinner or barbecuing. You'd listen to his tales of Lake Wobegon, where the women are smart, the men are good looking, and the children are all above average. It was this mythical town. And so I invented a town. I actually got a chance to interview him. You can go on to no nonsense roundtable.com and hear my interview with him. And I invented my own town, and my adopted hometown is Middle Finger Lake. Yeah, Middle Finger Lake, where life is perfect, but could always be better. So we might have a couple of little injections there of stories from Middle Finger Lake now and then. But that kind of gives you a little bit of an idea what the program is, how I got here, how the whole program got here, what No Nonsense is all about. No Nonsense kind of goes both ways. We don't want the Bob Duffy, who's been one of my guests, often says, it's like a football field. Most people are somewhere in between the 20s, in where you look at things. There are some people that are way at the other end of the field. Some of these things we highlight. It's funny. There are actually people that think that the world is flat, and they will try to convince you that the world is flat, and they will not take any other thought than the world is flat. There are other people that think they're sovereign citizens. If you ever seen that, you should YouTube that. A sovereign citizen thinks that he doesn't have to have a license, he doesn't have to pay taxes. They put cardboard license plates on their cars because they say they have no nationality at all and owe nothing to anybody. And it goes along with my 7% rule, which I actually wrote in the book. 7% of people in the world, I'll clean the language up. 7% of the people in the world are either nuts or really mean. So let me give you a little bit of an idea of some of the people that we've had on the show, and then what I'm going to do when we do this show. We take portions of the show sometimes, and we make shorts out of them on YouTube. Some of them have gotten an incredible amount of views. Now, my show, they say Nielsen's, my last ratings from the last station says that we're talking to 8,000 people every Saturday. I have 20,000 people on my email list. There's 8,000 followers that I have on YouTube and 6,000 on my Facebook page. So there's a few people that are interacting with No Nonsense one way or the other. But these shorts that I make, some of them are extraordinarily good. One in particular is the one from Don Alhart. It's a serious little, a couple of minutes. It's got 97,000 views. 97,000 views because he's talking about basically the philosophy of life that he has. It's fantastic. There's one from Bruce Pilato, who is a entertainment producer and author, and he has an interaction with Ringo Starr, and that, it's hilarious. There's another one that's got like 60,000 views. So intermingled in this broadcast that we're doing, and we're going to do videos with this too if we can. I'm gonna pepper in some of these shorts and some of these performances that we've had here on the show that you'd be impressed with. But let me go through this. What we have here. I have to put on the cheaters most naturally here. So there's Gene Cornish. As a matter of fact, Gene Cornish just called me a couple of minutes ago, and I'm going to air that. Gene was one of the founders of the Rascals. You remember the Rascals from the day. Groovin', Good Lovin', It's a Beautiful Morning. I mean, these guys were as big as the Beatles way back, and Gene was on the show. Felix Cavalieri was on the show. They're co-founders of the Rascals. Gene's a Rochester guy, and Gene and I talk every day. Now, the reason that we had talk every day, he was on the show. We just became friends. So, if you look for a reason why I am involved with this show, I get to meet a lot of interesting people. There's Rick Beato. He's got millions of followers online, another music guy. We have Pulitzer Prize-winning author David K. Johnson. He's going to tick off a lot of you guys because he's really not for Trump, but I don't care. I interview people. Of course, Don Alhart, Naomi Silver, and Maury, a beautiful family. Carl Palmer, who was the drummer for Emerson, Lake and Palmer. I interviewed him. He was in London at the time. I talked about Garrison Keillor already. Kalia Ali. She's a black belt. She's an author, but she's also the first Mrs. Muhammad Ali. That was really interesting. A fellow you probably didn't hear of, but his name is Bobby Rush, 84 years old, and he just got his third Grammy. Third Grammy. There's a fella you probably haven't heard of, another Rochester guy, Jack Alaco. Jack Alaco is here. It was born in Rochester, moved out to L.A. He has 11 Emmys. 11 Emmys. I mean, I tease him. I ask him if he has a shelf that's big enough to hold him. Of course, Bob Duffy, Mayor Malik Evans, and Todd Baxter's been on the show quite a bit. And the other one, I don't know if you know the guy, but his name is Grady Judd. He's the no-nonsense sheriff of Polk County, Florida. He's the guy that is famously quoted when a fellow from the press asked him, "Why did you shoot the suspect 66 times?" He goes, "He shot one of our deputies." He says, "We ran out of bullets." That's the guy. So these are all available on NoNonsenseRoundtable.com. And with that, we're going to take a little bit of a break here, and we're going to come back with some of these shorts. Maybe there's a better word for it than shorts. The shorts.
It's a magical place for kids of all abilities. The Rochester Rotary Sunshine Camp. Where kids have no barriers to fun. The Rochester Rotary Sunshine Camp.
So these little snippets from the show that we've had over the past 5 years or 6 years. I mean, some of them are very, very surprising. I'm going to let you hear the first one. It sounds like it wouldn't be funny, but it's really funny. Officer Denny Wright. I think you might all remember him. He lost his sight. He went to respond to a domestic violence problem back years ago, and he got into a fight with the fella, and the fella damaged him so badly he blinded him, and he became totally blind. And I'm going to let you listen to this one because you would think that the guy would have lost his sense of humor, but certainly not. So then you were talking about being asked a question given to an academy class. And where was this happening?
This was right here in Monroe County, and I'm talking to the brand new police recruits about my incident, what happened, and the things I've been doing since.
And how many people were in this class?
There might have been 50 recruits, and then their counselors, maybe another 5 or 6 officers. And at the end of my presentation, I always ask, please ask me any question. And usually I get crickets because, one, they're brand new, they're scared to say anything, and cops don't like asking questions anyway. So I ask, and then finally somebody raised their hand. Well, at least that's what I was told. There's no more.
Yeah.
And so he said, "What would you do different on the day that happened?" And I said, "I'd take Friday off."
Oh my Lord! Now, have you gotten asked any other questions like that? Or
so there was one other one. I'm in California. There's 800 cops. I finished my presentation, and again, I'm trying to get questions. And this guy in the back of the room gets up to the microphone, and he said, "What would you do if you saw him again?" And I said, "Saw him?" And the whole place just blasts out laughing. And I wasn't meaning to get this guy laughed at, but I was trying to think of what to say. But then later I'm like, did he just ask me what would happen if I saw him again?
Not exactly the most sensitive thing to say, but you knew what he was talking about.
I was laughing, and then I felt bad that everybody was laughing at
Yeah.
him for asking me that question. I did track him down and say, that was great. Please don't worry about it, because I try to tell everybody, you ask me anything.
Yeah.
I can't imagine something where I'm going to say I'm not answering that.
And the other thing we talked about during the show about you working with horses. Anything happened with horses that was unexpected at any point in time?
Yes. So I'm on a trail ride. I'm out at Center Point Stables, and Charlie and I are on the horse. I'm following his horse, and we went up this hill, and then we're coming down a hill, and apparently the ground was uneven, and so the right side of the horse is lower than the left, and I start sliding, and all of a sudden the saddle, I slide off and I fall on the ground. And Charlie's like, "Oh my God," but I'm laying there, and I didn't move. The horse wasn't moving, so I figured I wouldn't move. And later on, Charlie told me, "Well, now you're a real cowboy. You fell off a horse and got back on."
Well, there you go. Well, thank you for coming in, and this is going to live forever on our YouTube channel. And well, thank you. It's an honor to know you, my friend. So I've interviewed a lot of people in the music business, and one of them is Jerry Falzone. Jerry Falzone, a fantastic performer in his own right, but he is also a songwriter. And this performance by one of his friends, Chris Wilson, was done in my studio, and it's really outstanding. It's very subtle. It's soulful, but it was very, very good. And Jerry, I know, just got an award for this song. So listen to this and enjoy it.
Sky is dying red tonight. I'm driving down the coast. Your face is everywhere I go. It haunts me like a ghost. And I won't sleep well tonight. No, I won't sleep well tonight. A tempest in a hurricane, the calm before the storm. How could something run so cold that used to be so warm? And I won't sleep well tonight. No, I won't sleep well tonight. And it's too late to turn back. it's too late to go home. It's too late to change your mind. It's too late. It's time. No, it's much too late this time. And I won't sleep well tonight. No, I won't sleep well tonight.
Now, there's people that you know, and you would know them if you were in the business, or you would know them if you're really a music aficionado. And there's a local guy, and his name is Elvio Fernandez. And Elvio Fernandez performs for or with Daughtry. And Elvio has a great story about, well, we call it the call. When he got the call from Daughtry asking him to be in his band. So you mentioned the call. I'm a baseball fan. There was something called The Catch that had to do with Willie Mays. Tell me about the call with you. That's an interesting story.
The call. So I was, like I said, I was a real estate agent for Remax, and I was showing a house. It was not a nice house. It was this little, maybe $50,000, $60,000 house in, I think, the 10th ward. And it was a younger couple, and the phone, we were talking about putting an offer on the house. My phone was sitting on the countertop, and all of a sudden it rang, and it said Chris Daughtry on there. And they're just looking at the phone, and then they look at me, and they're looking at the phone, and they look at me, and they're like, "Are you going to answer that?" I'm like, "Yes, I'm going to answer that." So I answered the phone, and basically he had said, "Look, we'd written this song Crazy. It's on the album. I'm getting ready to go on tour to promote this album, and we're thinking of adding a utility guy." And for those of you that don't know what a utility guy is, basically jack of all trades, master of none. So somebody to play keys, play guitar, sing some background vocals, kind of fill in the gaps. Are you interested? And I was like, man, I'm flattered. Of course I would love to, but I just can't. I have a wife, I have kids, I have a mortgage, car payment, a career here. I can't imagine ever being able to go on the road. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to say no, but thanks for thinking of me. And I went about my business, I ended up selling that house and made a commission of, I don't know, $800 or whatever it was. So I went home that night and we were having dinner, and I was talking to my wife, and I said, "Jess, you're never going to believe this. Chris Daughtry called today." She's like, "Really? What did he want?" She's like, "Well, he wanted me to go on tour with him." And I'm waiting for her to be like, "Yeah, right." And she's just like looking at me, and I'm looking at her, and she's like, "Well, what did you say?" I said, "No. How the hell am I going to do that? And we've got, a life here, and I've got a career here, and we got kids and a mortgage and car payment." And she's just looking at me, straight face. And I'm like, "Oh, she's not buying this." She goes, "Let me get this straight. So you've spent your entire life burying yourself in your studio, playing every crap hole in Rochester till 2:00 in the morning to try to get to that next level. You just got, quote, the call, and you said no?" I was like, "Well, yeah." She's like, "Call his ass back and tell him you're going, because we will figure this out. We have family here. We have my family, your family. We'll figure this out."
And how your life changed, right?
Yes. And here we are 10 years later.
By having the support of a good woman.
Absolutely. I say it all the time. She is the rock star of the family, not me.
Now, I mentioned before Don Alhart. Now, Don Alhart, I have to tell you, Don Alhart is like the finest human being you could come across, and he treats me so well. And he's been on the show, I think, 3 or 4 times. Usually would come in later in the evening after his broadcast, and he did like 2 minutes on. I asked him what he would recommend to people as far as a feeling or philosophy of life would be. And he gave us about 2.5 minutes, and it's got 97,000 views so far. I think they stopped counting, but it's 97,000 views from this 2 minutes. And if you were to get into his mind and his psyche and the way he thinks and what a gentleman he is, this is really indicative of what he is like. Okay, so that leads into you have to have a philosophy of life or something that you would tell a younger generation that you'd like to pass on to them. What is it?
I think and it comes down to one word. It comes down to one word. Of all the, and I don't want to single out awards that I've received or mention all of them, but one of the most significant honors I've received was from the Salvation Army. Bob and Lynette Rio were the commanders here at the time, and it's called the Others Award. Mm-hmm. And that's the only word on the plaque is others. And to me, thinking of others is really a philosophy that embraces everything. Mm-hmm. The more we can think of others and our impact on lives, the more we can do for others. To me, that kind of says it all. So rather than, not to neglect yourself and neglect, your own surroundings, but the things you can do for other people are only going to make your life richer.
Leave the place a little better than you found it.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the philosophy. I talked recently. We had a Rotary meeting. Dr. Deanna R. Burton-Anna, the new president of Monroe Community College, and she talked about her philosophy. And one of them was, she said, "Everyone wants to be noticed. Mm-hmm. Find a way to let them know they're noticed. Doesn't have to be big, but everyone wants to be noticed at some level. And if you can do something to make other people feel noticed." That says it all.
Well, I have to say that you being here with me today has made me feel noticed. Yeah. I really do appreciate it. Well, I have a very interesting individual on the phone right now, and this is going to be a first conversation we're going to have about honoring our veterans and how we can do this with the No Nonsense Roundtable show. And I have an individual by the name of Amy Falwell on the phone, and she is a Marine veteran, and she's very highly involved in Veterans Affairs. And Amy, welcome to the No Nonsense Roundtable show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today.
Well, I want to interview you because you have such a wonderful story. You've been written up by a lot of different organizations. But just for now, for our first show here, what happened the other day is I reached out to oh my God, I have a brain cramp, to Nick Stefanovich. And I asked him, I said, if I had to have somebody who is very well versed with Veterans Affairs and would be able to help me put a spotlight on veteran stories, who would you have? And he says, "Oh, Amy, you have to be talking to Amy." So I have Amy on the phone. She's a former Marine veteran, and the deal here, Amy, is that I want to have a show with you next week. All about you, but what do you think I should do to help put a spotlight on different veterans and their contribution, their wonderful contribution they've made to this country?
Yeah, so I think it's easy enough to highlight a veteran within the community who also works at various agencies. We serve however many years, and then we come back, we struggle with transitioning, and then we are successful in their transition. And then you see us out there working at various agencies and getting those agencies up and running, chairing them, or volunteering countless hours within the veteran community. So showcasing that and preserving that and getting the community to see what these agencies do, I think would be a fantastic way to not only highlight the veteran, but also the agency in which they are volunteering or working for. And
individually, the veterans have these untold stories, and maybe their family might know the story, maybe not. My My father-in-law was in the Navy in World War II. He saw a lot of action, but we never really heard about it. But if we had a little something with his voice, a few minutes to talk about some of the things he's been through, it would be very valuable to us. So in another sense, too, we could do something that goes beyond the public, but is something that the family can have and hold forever, too. So that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. I know with my own children, I will often talk about in appropriate context, what my service looked like. And it's valuable for them. Looking back, we often, hear about our past generations and our grandfathers, with Vietnam and whatnot. So I often do the same thing with my own.
Yeah. So you're committing to help me with this project?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Well, Amy, thank you ever so much. And like I said, we're going to do a whole show with you next because you have this extraordinary story. And this sounds like a journey that's going to be very worthwhile for me personally and along with a lot of other people. So thank you ever so much for being on the show. And we'll be
of course.
having more discussions with you later.
Okay. I look forward to it. Thank you.
Now, sometimes it's not so much what the person says about himself and his business, but what he says, what he tells you about somebody he's had some dealings with. Now, Bruce Pilato is a wonderful marketing guy, producer. He used to write for all the national papers like Rolling Stone and whatever, and just a music historian. He's interviewed 3 out of the 4 Beatles. He's really fantastic. And this is a laugh out loud. This is a laugh out loud short because Ringo wants to buy a laptop, and Ringo is talking to Bruce about buying a laptop, and the whole thing is you don't get the punchline really till to almost the end. But this is absolutely hilarious. And the other thing is that Bruce Pilato does a heck of a Ringo imitation. You would never think of that, but he really does.
More. And it was Greg Lake, and he says, I got Ringo on the phone sitting next to me on the plane. He says, these people at Apple Computers, and he wants to get an Apple laptop. He doesn't own a computer. And I told him, you can put a whole recording studio in this little laptop. And he thought, maybe you could tell him what to buy and maybe arrange it for him. So he says, let me put him on. So he puts him on and he goes, hello, Bruce. And he goes, I want to get one of these Apple computers. And I said, okay. He says, well, Greg says people at Apple. And I said, well, I do. He goes, all right, well, tell him I want the same computer he's got with the studio in it and this and that. And I said, well, okay, I know what to get you. And he goes, all right, make sure you tell him, it's for Ringo. And, I don't want to pay for it. And I said, well,
he doesn't want to pay for it.
Yeah, I said, the only thing is, Ringo, is, they're expensive. I mean, back then, those laptops were like $5,800, yeah. Right? And I said, I don't know if they just give them out. I mean, he goes, well, you tell him it's for Ringo. And I say, well, I'll ask, but I can't guarantee I can get you one, and I can get you one. You won't have to wait 6 months like everybody else. I can get you one, but I don't know if I can get a free one. He goes, but I'm Ringo. And I said, yeah. He goes, oh, I'm just kidding. I'll pay for it. He goes,
oh, he got you.
Yeah, he got me.
He got you.
He goes, send it to my lawyer, Bruce Grickel, blah, 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 and this and that. And so anyways, I get a check. I paid for it on my credit card. I got him the computer. I get a check. And it's from Richard Starkey Productions, and it's signed by Ringo. And it was for the computer, which was like $6,000. And I said to my wife, I said, I don't want to cash this check.
Right, because it's signed, signed by Ringo. Yeah.
Well, what's interesting is he's signed to Richard Starkey, which is his real name.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And she goes, it's $6 freaking grand. You're cashing the check. So, and I have plenty of Ringo autographs. So it's,
yeah.
But anyways, that's my Ringo story.
Yeah. So Ringo got you. That tells you Ringo, heck of a sense of humor, right?
He had a great sense of the Beatles. I would have done the tour for free because just to hear the Beatles, I'm sitting there eating breakfast with him, and he's a vegetarian. He's eating whole grain cereal, and he goes, well, the day we did Day Trip, I remember that day. It's like, are you kidding me? It's like, they always say you're always disappointed when you meet your heroes. Nah.
Now, I come across people sometimes that are like nationally known. You might be a fan. There are a lot of people that are a fan of this fella down in Polk County, Florida, and he's like the no-nonsense sheriff of Polk County, Florida. His whole show, I got a chance to interview him, which was really great. But he gave us a short on why things are the way they are. When we're talking about crime and who's really responsible for the crime, and he sums this up in just a few minutes, but it's really outstanding.
You know what I coach here when I go around to the neighborhood meetings and the retirement meetings and meet the new people. I said, look, we welcome you here with open arms. We're glad that you're here. But if you came here for warm weather in the winter, we have it. If you came here for a low crime rate, we have it. If you came here for low taxes, we have it. But listen, if you come here and vote the same way the majority of the people voted from where you came from, you'll still have warm weather in the winter. But you won't have low taxes and low crime. Because every one of the areas across this nation that have a high crime rate can look directly at their mayors, their city commissioners, their county commissioners, their legislators in the Senate or the House. Those rules are and the governors. Those rules are created that's allowing the criminals to run wild on top of everybody and steal and shoot and stab and murder. Well, how's that working for y'all? Our crime's at a 50-year low in my county, and it's not safe to walk the streets. And you're creating that environment by the people you put in office.
Right. So ultimately, the consequences of your own behavior is the consequences of the voters' behavior. You're saying it rests on our shoulders who are pulling that lever in November.
Well, it absolutely does. When you look at the people who you vote for, they're polished and they tell you a good story, but don't listen to what they say, watch what they do. And at the end of the day, and I say this in all honesty, the policies or practices, or as you may understand them as laws, that are in place that allow this crime to occur are because of the people you put in public office. Think about it. New York has no jail bail. Well, how does that work? If you arrest someone and they are not held responsible or accountable and they get right back out, my experience tells you the majority of them don't show up, and they're certainly not concerned with whether or not they commit more crime because nobody's held them accountable. Way back in the day in this county, we had an overpopulated jail. Now I'm taking you back into the 70s. So they set up a no bail system here where if you put one guy in the county jail, then you had to look to see, well, is this guy worse than the others in the jail? Then you had to let someone out. So at the end of the day, we had people that we were booking into jail. They take their fingerprints, they take their photograph, fill out the paperwork, and release them without posting bail. You know what they were doing? They were stealing a car to drive back to wherever we arrested them from. Did you hear me? It doesn't work. Did you notice that your crime rate went up? Did you notice that your violent crime rate went up when you have no bail jail? Now, some of your elected officials that put that in place thought it was a great job at the time, but you're the one being victimized. Whether it's shot, whether they're stealing your car, stealing your property, breaking into your home, robbing you. You've got to make decisions. And the decisions you make with how you vote is going to determine what kind of environment you live in. Guaranteed.
Now, one regular on the show is Sheriff Todd Baxter, the Monroe County Sheriff, and we for a while were doing short videos in my studio here. I have this wonderful house that used to be the summer home of the Sibley family. It's really a cool place. It's still like it was back in 1957. But we were having interviews with Todd, short interviews, not full-length interviews, and he talks about cybercrime and how to avoid cybercrime. And he gives outstanding advice on this. I mean, just absolutely fantastic. You got to hear this. And the other thing is, you can go to YouTube and get this and send it to your friends and family. I think that's probably a great thing for you to do.
So the question of the week from a woman named Jerry is, tell us about all these online scams or phone scams. You know, people are calling up people and saying, "Hey, your daughter's been arrested," or "We're from the sheriff's department. You owe us money. You have a warrant." And what do you know about all this stuff? Because now pickpockets aren't picking your pocket anymore.
Yeah, they do it electronically or with telephones.
So tell us about that.
Yeah, it's really quite simple. When you look at a scam, you can reduce it down to 3 things have to occur.
Okay.
So if these 3 things are occurring in your life, you probably want to pick up the phone, call 911, or do something different. One, they got to engage you in conversation. So someone that's different. It could be online with text messaging, it could be emails, it could be a phone call, obviously. But you're engaging in a conversation with someone you never really engaged in conversation with, one way or another. 2, there has to be something to make you bite, something to make you interested, scared, or other things. So yeah, your husband passed away and you have a life insurance policy and you know there's $100,000 waiting for you, right? Yeah. Or your nephew just got arrested down in Florida and he needs $50,000 of bail, or your heat's going to get turned off if you don't send us money. There has to be that bite, you know, something that either scares you or makes you want to give. And then there's an ask. So those 3 things: a conversation with someone you never talked to before, one way or another, a something that scares you or makes you want to give, or for any particular reason, and then there's going to be an ask. And those 3 things always line up one way or another to make it a scam. And if people can be unaware for those.
You never call somebody saying that you have a warrant out and blah, 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 blah. I mean, that's...
Law enforcement doesn't do that.
You don't call, right?
Yeah, if we do call an individual, we're calling for Dom Genova and saying you have a warrant. You want to turn yourself in before we come down there?
Okay.
But there's no ask in that. You know, you got a warrant, turn yourself in. We're not asking, I'll bring $50,000 of bail money or send me money and I can take care of the warrant. See, there's got to be that ask.
Well, the other thing, there's not much you can do when somebody gets scammed like that, right? I mean, they're usually like in China or something.
Yeah,
right?
that money's almost guaranteed gone. We have great investigators that just work in the cyber world. They're very good at it, the electronic world. But often they can track, but there's nowhere to go because the money's in some part of Africa we never heard of, or the money's someplace, you know, offshores. And so, you know, we can find out where the URL is. A lot come from Russia still, but we're not getting your money back. And that's why I love this conversation we're having. Just look for those 3 things, and if they're occurring and it's weird, just say, hey, hang up the phone and say, I'll call you right back, or let me send you an email, and then call us.
Well, and you know, I was talking to somebody in cybersecurity a couple of days ago, and I said, "What should you do with the email? You know, you block the email? Do you just delete it?" He says, "Just don't touch it, and really, basically, there's not much you can do because he was saying that once you block it, they just find another way of getting in touch with you."
Yeah, you're being bombarded 24/7. Your computer is constantly being bombarded by, and their electronic probes that are coming at you all the time, right? These are not someone sitting there dialing 15,000 numbers. They got computers to do that, and then once someone picks up, then the computer's going to generate them to talk to it, you know, and then there's some guy on the other end of it telling you one of those 3 things. Those 3 things have got to occur, right? They're engaging in a conversation, something interesting.
So what were the 3 things you were saying again? Engagement?
So they got to engage in some kind of conversation. It could be
Okay.
text messaging, right? It could be that simple.
Yep.
But you're conversing with someone one way or another. They got to scare you or get you a hook, right? So you often scare, or it's you got money you didn't know you had, right? That's the hook. Then there's going to be an ask. They're going to ask you to do something that's going to give them access to your money, or you're going to send them direct money. And no one does those 3 in a normal conversation. No one calls and does those, right? So conversing, you know, scare, or a desire to get involved because it's too good to be true, and then there's going to be an ask.
Hey, I was talking to you about the famous people that I've had on the show, and as luck would have it, one of those people, probably one of the very most famous people that I've had on the show, just gave me a call. We talk just about every day. The fella's name is Gene Cornish, is one of the founders of the Rascals from way back when. I mean, in the day, grooving, people got to be free. It's a beautiful morning. Give me some of the other songs, Gene. I mean, you guys are great.
Good lovin'. How Can I Be Sure? Mustang Sally. Only Too Long. We had 17 hits in a row, Dom.
Yeah. And you were on Ed Sullivan 5 times?
5 times Ed Sullivan. Did a Tom Jones show. Johnny Carson.
Yeah. And the other thing is that was all live back then. Jeez, I mean that. And you guys are like in your early 20s. I mean, you have woven your way. The Rascals have woven your way into American culture. I mean, it's outstanding. I am proud to call you my friend, and you are a Rochester guy. I mean, we go to Don's Original together, and we have a little. What was it? The Eggs Benedict at the Strath Allen on Sunday mornings and whatever. So
and then we go to the House of Guitars, and we go to the Red Wings.
Yeah. And we meet your old friends. Pat Prietti. I mean, one thing about Gene is that Gene, being a Rochester guy, he's kept up with his boyhood friends, and now your high school's got a couple of copies of your autobiography. Yeah. I mean, they were pleased to get it too. The Franklin High School. What do they call it now? I don't even know. So
I have no idea. It's always going to be Ben Franklin for me.
Yeah. And one of the things, when he calls me up, he calls me Raccoon Man, and I'll have to explain that later to everybody how I got to be Raccoon Man. So, Gene, good talking to you. I'll give you a call when I'm done with the rest of the show, and God bless you. And the other thing, he likes my clam sauce. So.
I love your clam sauce, the best.
Okay. Okay, Gene. Good talking to you.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Raccoon Man.
This segment brought to you by the Middle Finger Lakes Chamber of Commerce. When Isaac started Isaac Buick in 1940, he realized one thing, and his motto lives on today. Don't be putting on airs. A Buick is good enough. Mr. Isaac realized that most Finger Lakeans did not want to be seen as unsuccessful as driving a Plymouth, and driving a Cadillac just showed you had a problem with self-esteem. Stop in today for our Leave Your Dog at Home service promotion. 10% off any service for cat owners. Looking for an injury attorney? Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe are your personal injury specialists. We not only will try our best to get you millions in your court case, but if we lose, we'll give you 500 scratch-off lottery tickets, meaning all is not lost. Remember our motto, if you lose, you still might win. Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe. Approval to the New York Bar, still pending.
Now let's talk about this idea I have about having a section that tells you a little bit about inside information that you need to know, whatever it is, whether it's home buying, car buying, what you need to know about your college application process. And one thing I learned on I'll have him on again. A fella by the name of Paul Selick, and Paul gave us a talk about your college application process and how that affects the college and what they get out of it. And I think a lot of people don't understand, or I didn't understand, that not only do they sell you a program for your kids and tuition, they charge you a lot of money for that, most naturally. But if they finance it, they get a 2% kickback, the college does. So, I mean, when you have a child that wants to get a degree in something that has a very low marketable skill, the college really doesn't care. So that's one of the things. Now I said I was a car dealer for a long time. And the thing is about being a car dealer is that there was the traditional way that cars were sold. And when I came to Avon, we started advertising. It's going to sound really strange. Real price and real payment. That's how we started out. And so when I advertised, I put in the real price. I wouldn't put in rebates you couldn't get. I included taxes if there was a payment in there, how much you had to put down. Everything was all. And so my wife and I, like I said, we sold everything we had to start the dealership. And we said, well, we might sell a couple of cars. Well, at least we'll keep our head above water. God bless my wife. I have to tell you, the story is that we're making good money. In '94, I'm making like $100,000. I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. I got a car from Chrysler. She's got a lease car for very low. We got all the health and everything like that. But we wanted to settle down, so we settled down here, and this is a great place to live, an absolutely great place to live. We found what we wanted in something that was right for us. And my wife says to me back when, and God bless her, she goes, well, the worst that's going to happen is we lose our money. We lose our money. You get a job selling cars, and I'll get a job waiting tables. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. The girls are 1 and 4. The girls will be fine. It's sort of like like Maria von Trapp is encouraging the family to go over the mountain. It's like, and okay, money's not everything or whatever. So we were, I would say, we did okay. But the idea that you need to be kind of aware of how to shop for a car. Because most people hate shopping for a car. 80% of the people, they said 88% of the people in the world, in the country, hate shopping for a car. Okay, and they said 24% of the people would rather have a root canal. You'd rather have your tooth yanked out and put a root canal rather than buy a car. But there's a reason for that. The reason for that is that it's not like the cards are stacked against you. It's like you don't even know the game. So, I wrote this book, I didn't write this to make money. Here's the book. That's like my high school graduation picture. Look at that. I don't want to put my own picture now. Okay. But that's for the people that are not listening on the radio. Okay. But don't be taken for a ride. Know what your dealer knows and drive home happy. And there's things in there that you do, I'll tell you something you don't know. I worked for the factory for 17 years. This is how old I am. 17 years, and then had my own dealership for 26 years. Okay. Now, calling on the dealers for 17 years, I've seen them all. There's some that are really, really, really good, and they take care of customers. And there's some of them that if they had a chance of doing something the sneaky way and the right way, they'd rather do it the sneaky way because it makes them feel better. I don't know what it is. It's a certain... it's a certain strange environment. But the people working at the dealerships are generally speaking really great people. But, it's sort of like nobody aspires to sell cars for the rest of their life. Nobody says when they're in high school, what do you want to do? I want to sell cars for the rest of my life. Very few people do that. It's just that they want a job. It's a good job. It's a good paying job. Okay. But the thing is that when you get something like that, you have a really big difference in people, and I kind of show you how to navigate that, because a lot of people mistakenly shop kind of in the dark, and they don't know what the real deal is. And even in the book, I have a dealer to English dictionary. So it's like one thing they say. No money down. What does no money down mean? Down can mean a direction. It could mean an amount of money that you are reducing the loan by. It's down, or it could mean goose feathers. So they say, well, you have this lease payment. There's no money down. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's thousands of money. If you want to say down means how much money do you have to come out of your pocket, it's thousands of dollars. So things like that, and humorous. They're humorous things that I've seen over the years, and some of them are very, very, very strange things you see in the car business. And in the back of the book, believe it or not, is the Attorney General's guidelines on new car advertising, So, yeah. So on the other side of that, though, is that the book came out in May. It's available on Amazon, and you can get it. The bookstores can order it for you. But I'm going to be giving some talks over the next few months and going to libraries. I know I have somebody who's setting me up with lectures about doing this, and I'm going to be basically giving the books away for what I'm doing. The first one's going to be at the Rush Library, whatever. You can look at nononsenseroundtable.com and go find it. Go find there, or Don't Be Taken. Don'tbetaken.com is my site, and you can go there, and that's where these lectures are listed. And if you want me to come by and do this for you or your organization and whatever, it's something that I'll be more than willing to do. So you can contact me there. You can contact me on nononsenseroundtable.com. You can go to No Nonsense Roundtable on Facebook. You can go to Don't Be Taken on Facebook. You can go to oh my Lord, how do I do all this stuff? You can go to middlefingerlake.com or .org. And the other place is rochesterhonors.org. This is something else I'm working on. I think we should have a Music Hall of Fame that goes beyond a Music Hall of Fame, because we have so many other great qualities here of entertainment and other great assets that we have. So, well, I'd like to say, I hope you enjoyed the show, and I hope you tune in again. And if you have any suggestions about a guest and whatever, go to nononsenseroundtable.com, or if you have some ideas that maybe I haven't thought of, go there. And just remember, live your life no nonsense. It's a joyful thing. Keep your mind open, and you learn a lot of stuff from a lot of different people, and you make some friends like I did. And God bless you for listening, and we'll see you right here next week at the same time.
Thanks for listening. You can find our previous shows at nononsenseroundtable.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll make more.